Hello and welcome to episode 165 of The Imperial Truth. I'm Greg. Joining me as usual is Mr. Howard. Hello, Howard.
Hello, Greg. You doing all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, just about doing okay. A little much better than the last couple of weeks or so. It's certainly
Man.
a bit more of a lull now. So apologies everyone for this being a little bit later. That's mostly down to me. But like you say, that's life.
No. It's everything. It's fine. It's all good. We're trying to get there. We'll catch up. Don't you worry.
Exactly.
Before we
There's a lot to
before
do.
Oh yeah, isn't it just? Before we go anywhere, let's talk Element Games. We got a price rise coming up. I'm sure we'll talk about that briefly in a minute. But you get in there before that happens. Get your 15 to 20% off GW prices to help you get more toys for your money. That's what it's all about, and some top quality service as well.
All the hobby for all of those shiny new plastic toys as well. Get all the
Yes,
paints and the
absolutely.
brushes and all that stuff.
All the paints. Yeah, well, I finally put up one of my presents for my birthday, and got a paint rack on the wall, which is a nail varnish rack,
Nice.
where unfortunately GW paint pots can only fit side by side, but Vallejo paint pots can sit two per, doubled up. So I think this might be my final push to just go mainly Vallejo, apart from the odd, I've got projects, so I can still work on them, but
Mhm.
I can double the amount of paints up on that rack if I go Vallejo. So
And there's quite a lot of Vallejo-sized paints out there as well, of course. But yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'm not going
Vallejo
to go.
is
Yeah,
very good and widely available.
exactly. So yeah, I think I put in my little order, add a few paints, do the usual kind of thing. But it's all good. But yeah, thank you, Element,
Tell you
for
the
supporting
thing
us.
that they did sort out something as well. That I had a much delayed, not through Element, but something that was waiting for it to be back in stock. Is the Red Grass wet palette
Right.
version
Yeah.
2 came back into stock about a week ago, and Element is one of the few resellers of that in the UK.
All right. That's
So
cool.
that was I reached out for one of them recently.
Yeah, mine's yeah. I've actually cleared my desk and everything as well to try and get some stuff done. So
Oof.
hopefully some progress. But yeah, if you want to help support the podcast, one of the ways you can do it is purchase from Element and use our link in the show notes or various places. You can find the link, and we get a kickback on that. And also, if you really want to support us even more, we've got our Element codes as well, which give us a few crystals. You get a few crystals. Everyone's a winner. And yeah, awesome. That's Element done, sorted. Have you managed to be up to much heresy wise?
Does Titanicus count?
Not yet. That's we're going to cover that on another show.
That'd be another.
But yeah,
That'd be
you went
another
to an
thing.
event. You went down to Beachhead, didn't you?
I did, and that's been my hobby focus
Cool.
predominantly. I have picked up a few things. A couple of people were selling off the odd unit and things here. So there's a couple of those
Sure.
things. 28 mil I picked up, but those are some hobby projects for later on. But no, my focus has been purely of the Titanicus variety for a couple of weeks at least. Well, a bit more than that
Yeah.
actually. Probably the last month or so. So nothing that. But that said, I have got the old Alpha Legion still calling out to me. I picked up a few paints as well. I've seen a few examples of people using speed paints very effectively for different shading and quite nice candy schemes and things like that. So I thought I'd pick up some of those, and I'm going to give those a go along with some Thousand Suns in the not too distant future. So yeah, some of that's coming up, but otherwise, no, there's not been any hobby. I've been moving back into the hobby room, so should be able to get a bit more organised and try and get onto some kits. I did pick up a Land Raider Proteus. I hadn't
All
picked
right.
one up.
Yeah.
I haven't had one before. I'm quite looking forward to building those. I just really like the Land Raider and Spartan kits. They're really nice.
Yeah, they are absolutely. There's going to be some noise in the background because one thing that did happen is my latest purchase from Little Legends little character range did
Nice.
arrive. Haven't had a chance to build it or even really look at it yet, to be honest.
Is this the Ultramarine?
This is what is he? I can't even remember. No, it's the Sons of Horus. It's
Oh, the
what's his
yeah,
name?
okay.
The other one.
The little
Blade.
Horus, the Aximand.
Is that
No,
X-Men?
Tybalt
No,
Mar.
either. Tibble Mar.
Either or, the either and the or. Yeah,
Either, yeah, because I was going to play around with him to make him into something else, frankly. Space Wolf, mainly.
really nice.
Yeah, although I'm looking at the parts, I'm wondering where that is. Oh, yeah, there's his. Yeah, because the double-bladed weapon is partly what I wanted.
Mm.
That'll work as a great, great wolf blade or whatever it's called. Great frost blade. I can easily take his Eye of Horus off his shoulder pad. Yeah, and then put a new wolf head on him. He's got a lovely cloak, so Bonza. Not far off being a
It's
space
all
wolf.
wolf stuff.
Yeah, I'll wolf him, wolf. It's all good. So yeah, I've got that, and I I did put a purchase in for a Space Wolf Contempt to Dread, maybe two, because
Hello.
although they sold out online, there were some left
Oh,
at Warhammer World, and I had a friend
clever.
make
Okay,
a
this
trip.
is because of the new
Yeah, we'll get
conversion
onto
kits
those.
coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought there might be one or two at Warhammer World. Do I want one or do I want two? Let's buy two because I can always move it on. Someone will want it if
Mm.
I don't want to use it. So, but I'm trying to restrict. I was like trying not to buy anything for a while, and then that happened. I was like, might not be able to get these if I don't buy them now.
Yeah, that's
So
always the problem, isn't it? When you think
yeah.
you've got a bit of a break. I did go through the new Horus model. I had a
Oh
look at that
yes.
before I went dived into
You're
there.
supposed to give me some pictures so we can put
Yeah,
them
that's
up
the one.
online.
Yeah,
So
that's the one.
Games
Yeah.
Workshop, we should say, Games Workshop did send us Horus Ascended. It fell at a time that wasn't great for us to get any pictures up of it or anything like that. So
But clearly, we're now coming in with the second wave of interest, which is what we're doing.
yeah, too
Just
right.
as
Yeah.
people think all of that's gone
Let the
quiet, we
flashy
can go with
ones
a deep
go.
dive.
Yeah,
Exactly. Let them have their room. They need to do that. Then we can get into our side of things. The more regular hobbyist
that
approach.
means you
It
still
is.
got to
It
do
is
it.
in. Yeah. Trust me. I'm aware. The 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 kit is incredible. It
Yeah,
is.
it does look
It is
incredible.
one of the most. It is one of the most. I'm trying to think of the right word. Complex, advanced. It makes it sound formidable, but I mean that in a positive
It's
way.
very clever.
It's
It comes apart and it can build in a clever manner.
it is. It feels like it's taking advantage of all of the skill that they have developed, which was already considerable. But it feels like they've had quite a leap in their application of those skills through the CAD design, through
Well,
the
this
molding techniques and similar. It is extraordinary as a
is
piece
the
of kit.
first Primarch designed on CAD.
Yeah, and
I'm pretty sure.
it's quite a step on, I would say, in
Yeah,
terms of its development.
Simon's moved from, I had a quick word with him. Yeah, and I think he's got to grips with it. But having like the whole cloak be able to be painted
Mm,
separate from the model and then easily fit on, because the problem is, it's all very well saying painting sub assemblies, but for some people, them building afterwards is as much of a pain in the
mm.
rear as just painting the whole thing. Like I can't be bothered. I'm not that good a painter, so whatever. But
If you're doing it as a display piece or a painting project, fair enough.
for
If
for
you're
people,
predominantly a bit for gaming, then that's a
yeah.
different
But
animal, isn't it?
some people, if you want to paint, like it bugs people, and I understand what I completely understand the nature of wanting to do that. And if you are painting at a high level, then it's almost compulsory.
Mm,
And it works well in that, and it's been designed that way. I understand why some people don't like the base. I think the base is designed um, well to frame that model in what it is and
mm.
where it is and what it's doing.
Yes,
So yeah, looking forward to whatever they come up with next for that one.
it is. It's a remarkable, really is piece of kit. It just going through the pieces. I've never seen a kit of that nature from them with as many pieces and as much detail in it, and it's such a jump on from even some of the more recent Primarchs, which are impressive pieces in
Mm.
themselves. It is, if someone is looking to really push on to their skills in a modelling piece. I mean, it's far more. I mean, talk about a centerpiece model. It's far more even than some of the others, which were felt like previous Primarchs and similar. We're only a smidge on from something like a Contemptor or similar, where they were still quite big, chunky pieces. There was a few parts, but they were relatively. This is an order of magnitude different, and really quite exciting for it because it feels like, wow, this demands attention in having it there. So as a modelling project alone, I think this is a really cool. It's a really cool piece. I certainly think it'd be worth looking at.
Fair enough. I'll to say other Primarchs are not much different from a Contemptor. It's a bold statement.
In terms of modelling capability, I would say, or modelling. Some of them, there weren't as many pieces. I'm thinking of some of the early ones. Now, I say that, there are others that have plenty. There's anything when you've got individual, I'm going to say, Turges?
Yeah, Turges.
It's unlikely that the P would be, it's more likely the P would be silent. Spot on.
It's probably some Latin thing that we're no idea, so it's fine.
Individual ones of those? Yeah, fair enough.
There's a couple of bits on Russ.
It feels like it would be unfair to say it's that, but it was only sort of 1 or 2 rungs ahead of some of the more, some of the, a dreadnought, a real quality dreadnought, Legion specific dreadnought type of thing. Certainly in terms of its impact overall. Obviously, it's a Primarch, so it's got meaning behind it more than that. But in terms of modelling complexity, this is so much more of a step up. It surprised me. There's a reason it is in the size box that it is. He is.
Yeah, it's a big box, isn't it?
Oh yes, it's enormous, and it's expensive.
Like, yeah, it is.
It's a high cost item. There's no getting around that. I do think when you see what's in it, it feels like it justifies that price. So then it represents value. It represents its high value.
This is it. Yeah, this is it. Quite often in this hobby, price and value are not connected by those commenting, or they're conflated. They're read incorrectly. Price and value are 2 different things, and something can be expensive and worth it, or expensive and not worth it. So
yes, I always associate the word expensive with poor value.
That is part of the problem.
That's not quite the case.
Can have a negative connotation.
Yeah. It's high cost.
Yeah,
but I think it's also it represents fair value.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's cool. Awesome. Yeah. So wonderful stuff.
I'll get on that and get some photos out there. I know there have been unboxings and things, but it's always quite nice to see that starting to evolve. Our take on it.
Indeed. Or yours anyway. That's cool. Okie dokie. Shall we jump on to what has been happening since we last recorded? Now we were trying to remember.
Fair old bit, isn't it?
Yeah. We haven't listened back. We don't think we talked about Exodus. Forgive us if we did.
I'm pretty sure we didn't.
I'm pretty sure we did.
I'm 90% certain we did. The last thing we discussed in detail was the helmets, as we have a tendency to do. I am a big fan. I've been waiting, having seen him obviously appear as rules in the Lever book. I was like, well, there's very likely there's going to be a model. Then there was that hint video that came out around New Year, and he was like, well, clearly that's looking very likely to be Exodus. Here he is. I think they've done it really done him justice. I think it's really nice. I'm very much looking forward to this model. Yeah, not least of which because Alpha Legion are my current focus, but I just think it's a very cool take. I think the rifle is a very interesting choice. It's got an almost old school hunter's rifle. It's not quite as high tech as I was expecting, but I quite like that.
I do like immediately the comments from the people who, in the army or whatever. It's like, that gun doesn't work. It's like, well, let's not start doing that with 40k.
Yeah,
it will fall down very quickly.
I've seen plenty of people then say, "Well, yes, it does." If you look at it another way, I mean, it's got the one view. It's not. Yeah.
I'm just like just don't question it too much. Does it look cool? That's all they care about. Yes. So I can. A lot of people talking about picking this up as a basis for their own Vigilators.
I'm surprised at that. I'm surprised there's as many people talking about that because it's very Alpha Legion.
Well, I mean, you swap the head out. You
Scaled armor?
The left shoulder pad. Well, yeah, the scaled armor is the only thing, but scaled armor in and of itself isn't necessarily a
It's not
major issue.
exclusive. It's not exclusive, but it's quite a distinctive piece.
The
And both shoulder pads are going to be a right pig to change.
Yeah, well, I don't think it depends how you do it, don't you? I think
Yeah, of course you could shave it off.
the
Yeah,
snakes could be shaved off. The other one, I think, might be a little bit more tricky to shave off, and because that cloak's molded, it looks like it's part of that.
yeah, I
So
agree.
that might be a little bit more tricky. But the backpack's nice. I
Yes,
can see a few of them appearing.
I think the
I
head's
think,
nice. I think the head you could also trim off the if you were so inclined, you could take off the crest, for example, and then
yeah,
it's not specifically
I think,
alpha
yeah.
lead.
But the only issue with that is, say you keep the scales, and then you keep um, the silhouette of the model.
Mm,
I think you want to change the head to then, if you're going to change to
fair
another
point.
legion,
Yep.
as another point of difference.
Mm,
Otherwise, people will be like, "Oh, it's Exodus."
mm.
But it's cool. I'm wondering if there's too much work for me to bother to make that into a Space Wolf one. Um,
I didn't think this would be one of your classic Space Wolf conversions,
no,
just because of the amount of
my
Alpha
technically
Legion stuff on
brilliant
there.
conversions. I
Yeah,
mean,
one of your exquisite
head
Wolf
swaps,
conversions.
weapon swaps. Oof.
This one,
Yeah,
it's very Alpha Legion, even with another little
yeah, I think so.
fangs and stuff on it. You think, well,
Or even his belt buckle. It's got the
mm,
It's got the three heads on it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I can see why, but yeah, for me, I think it would be
There'd
too
be a
much.
lot to take off, which I would have thought is not that, but I can see people doing it, or even having him as an Alpha Legion
I mean, what you could potentially
ally
do,
or something.
yeah, is if some people want that body, you could probably take the arms off because they're probably at the elbow joint on his right arm,
Mm,
and on the left arm is probably just the forearm.
mm.
So you could probably borrow the gun and the arms, which would work.
Yes,
if
yes.
if you knew someone who wanted the body, or it's just an expensive conversion. Because then I would use the backpack somewhere, not necessarily on the same model,
Mm,
and then again the head could be used somewhere on a different model, and then
mm.
you've still got a body laying around, but
Is it
yeah,
resin or plastic?
its character is resin. It'll be
I think it
resin,
was one
won't
of
it?
the few. It's likely to be resin. I just wondered. I mean, because we obviously had the two plastic. We had Fafnir Ran and
Yeah, but that was for Black Libraries.
Zephyr. Yeah, true.
Open day. That's these characters are not going to be plastic unless there's something specific like that, and essentially it's not. Yeah, they are different.
Mm.
Yeah,
Doesn't
but
specifically mention
no,
one way or the other here,
but
but
it's
I'm
resin.
guessing it's resin. Yeah,
Yep, cool. So he'll be appearing in multiple,
I would imagine he won't be around. He won't be long before we see him.
no, or two of him. Yeah, shouldn't be long.
Hmm.
Shouldn't be long at all. Bearing in
Then
mind
we,
we've got
yeah,
the jet bikes are already out. Cerberus has been revealed. Won't be long. And we're recording this. The assassin thing, whatever it is,
hmm.
will already be out, revealed. Sorry, by the time this goes up. So yeah, it won't be long for him. I wouldn't have thought.
Is the assassin thing this week?
I think there were hints to it in the jet
Okay,
bike. Yeah,
nice.
indeed.
I was amazed the jet bikes came out so quickly after they did the Heresy
Well,
Thursday thing, and then it was like shortly
we'll
after.
get on
But
to that.
wow, okay,
Yeah. Oh no,
okay.
let's do jet bike stuff. Let's do jet bikes.
We could mix up the order slightly. I mean, we could
Yeah.
do the
So
exemplary, but yeah. Hmm.
Sky Hunter jet bikes. Yeah, revealed and released very quickly. The Typhon hasn't been released yet.
No.
There's obviously been a delay there. So I think, I don't know. I think this was then pushed. The jet bikes were then pushed up the release order
Okay.
because it was a very quick turnaround, and we don't
There
normally get
has been some shenanigans going on with their warehouse.
Yes, they have.
There's been some issues there where issues. There's been the warehouse reorganization, which has had a
Moving.
logistical. moving indeed. So it's a major logistical exercise that seems to have caused some.
And some talk about robotic picking.
Right. Okay.
So
I know there's been some hiccups.
And even then, like, stuff can happen. Like something could, mistakes occur. Like something could be put in the wrong boxes. The box can have something wrong with it. Like models can get packaged incorrectly. Like all the normal things that can happen with any product released by any company can happen. So they have to move around that, and that's why they don't give dates out
Yeah.
because of unforeseen issues. Like maybe boxes get delayed from suppliers, maybe whatever, maybe
And
someone.
so they're keen to avoid the issues of having it available in 4 out of 5 of the regions they're launching in, and not releasing that.
Absolutely.
Now they've introduced a little flexibility on that, where they say where you're seeing on a Sunday, this will be available in Australia and New Zealand a week later or something, with certain books and things like that. But they generally try to avoid that.
Yeah, maybe there's a list of items that go in a box, and then that gets repeated, and if there's an error on that, then that's multiplied across the times. Like human errors occur, can never be completely stopped. So there's there's 100 reasons why something can be delayed. But we would, I think, people are saying, "Oh, where was the typhoon?" Because that was shown off a while ago. So it makes some logical sense that these guys were pushed forwards into that vacuum. But hey, they'll never tell us. So
fair enough. The paint job
cool.
on the ones that they have on the article is really nice.
The black
the Sons of
sage
Horus,
green is quite nice. Yeah,
it's really tasty, and with the sort of scratches and stuff on it, it's really, really nice paint job they've done on that. It really shows off the Mark 6 as well. I like the Mark 6 riders on these.
By the way, it's Mark 6. I think people have to be aware now that Mark 6 is what they're going to be doing.
100%.
Like if they do assault marines, chances are going to be Mark 6. If they do breaches, chances are they're going to be Mark 6. If they do whatever, chances are it's going to be Mark 6.
For the foreseeable future, it's Mark 6 until they do a Mark something else basic squad. Then you might get some mixes up, but until then, it's going to be Mark 6 on everything. I completely agree.
And I get it. People hope for Mark 2, whatever, and Mark whatever.
And that might happen, but it will be another tactical squad first or something like that, I would imagine.
I wouldn't be getting your hopes up too much, because you're only going to lead probably to disappointment. There's plenty of Mark 6 for them to do. That's why they released upgrade sprues for Mark 6, upgrade sets for Mark 6. I like them. I like, and they're at a price point which is much nicer than the old one, obviously.
It's approximately £30 for 3 now, I think, isn't it?
Bit more than that, I think.
35.
It was 37 on their website. Let me have a little look. 37.50 on GW's website. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can take 15% off of that for Element. If I can find them, I was going to have a look, but I can't be bothered. So get your normal off that. But bearing in mind they were like £30 odd for one
each. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So interesting to see the sprues. The reason I had them up on GW's website is because they show off the sprues. So the riders are one part, and the jet bike's another part. I like the fact they've done the Eye of Horus and the Aquila as add-ons.
Yes,
that's a nice little
smart move. Yeah,
don't have to put them on if you don't want to, or you can have your allegiance shown off. But yeah, having the rider, or 3 riders, should I say, as their own sprue is a nice touch. Does this allow them to use it for other bikes?
Well, that's an interesting way around. I just assumed that it would mean that you'd have different riders in the future.
Potentially.
But I like the way you're thinking.
What are the weapons options for Outriders? Etc. etc. So potentially a nice little touch there. Because I think the bike kit's just all the bike options, isn't it? I believe. So they're cool. I like them. We're going to see a lot of People are going to be buying them, whether how good they are on the table. They're certainly not the beasts they were, but I think just the fact they're plastic and people want to do those armies.
I mean, they're
Obviously,
fairly iconic as a
yeah,
heresy
absolutely,
unit,
yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah, and people will always, of course, lean towards White Scars and Dark Angels with them, but certainly a Space Wolves unit of these can run in charge if you want a command squad with them. That's quite a long distance.
They're pretty handy in a Blood Angels list.
Indeed. So, yeah, lots of stuff you can do. And little
It's
Volkite pistol is always good as well.
It's a very cool little rider sprue, actually.
Yeah,
I
it is,
wonder if
isn't it?
I wonder if they'll be. I'm just looking at the riders. Yeah, you probably could. That would translate over quite nicely, as you say, to the ground bikes.
Yeah,
That would work a treat. I'm just wondering, maybe even a land speeder.
potentially. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, there's potential there for them to do that, which I like. GW did send a box through. They got delayed, which is why on the release day, I think Goonhammer were the only ones I saw with a picture, and it was unpainted. And mine are still in the delivery box they came in because they only arrived like a day or two ago. So I'll try and get them up at some point. But yeah, they're pretty funky. I do like them. As I say, we're going to be seeing a few of them. I've always wanted quite a few for my walls. So that's
They always
groovy.
just look cool in an army, don't they?
Yeah,
Having them as a little squadron of two of them just on the flanks and stuff always looks nice. And an army list, they've got a certain presence for sure.
should we jump back to the Iron Hands and the Blood Angels exemplary battle?
Yes, that was either. It was it was an interesting one to see it come out. People were there's quite a lot of anticipation just to see that series effectively finished off
Yeah,
for now.
yeah. So yeah, also, so yeah, this is the last of the Legion ones for a while. Like, season one done. Season two's gonna have a focus of what is it? Uh, humans and demons, basically.
Yes, it was. It's not Solar Auxilia, is it? It's
Imperial
Militia.
Army, militia.
Mm.
Yeah. But I quite like the fact they have put two loyalist legions, classic loyalist legions against each other to show that there are, things weren't always as clear cut as they seemed. People clashed.
Yeah, I thought the explanation for that was good. I thought I did read Goonhammer's review of it, which was quite interesting. It was written from the perspective of someone who was an Iron Hands fan. He's like, they are presenting the Iron Hands continually as these very sort of. He said they do come up with doing the same sorts of things, making some slightly questionable decisions at the best of times. I like my Iron Hands, I like them a lot, but he's like, yet again, they turn up being these belligerent, we're angry and we're angry all the time kind of attitude. Yeah, fair
Probably
enough.
if they're not angry, they have no personality whatsoever. So Iron Hands really can be very dull to read about.
Yeah.
That's just me. That's just what I think. I read a lot of Iron Hand stories and find them themselves not particularly interesting because of the nature of what they are and how they are. And of course, yeah, you can play around within that to a point, but again, they
I thought
use
the idea of just this. Well, I mean, as I say, it's been portrayed before, but this idea of these pretty damaged group of people and just generally distrustful. I thought that was a good thing to have, and just say, well, actually, there's a very distrustful group, a force out there. They've got no idea who their friends are anymore because of the betrayals they've had individually, and they come across and they need to resupply, and it all gets a bit problematic.
indeed.
Cool little story. I thought actually it was quite enjoyable.
And so two HQ/retinue units. We got so the Blood Angels, a Finum Court.
Yeah, I
3 dudes.
really like them. Not least of which it's a part of the spheres that are discussed. The spheres of the different orders of angels, if you like. And it's part of the first sphere, and it's mentioned in the Black Book as a unit, and it picked up on this emblem that was back in Rogue Trader days. I want to say that was listed as Space Police, and it's an emblem they've carried through then into the Black Book, and it's saying it was a sort of a watchful unit to say, hang on, anyone steps out of line here, we need a group that's going to enforce discipline. And they obviously didn't have any models or units previously, and they feature again fairly prominently actually in the Sanguinius Primarch's book.
Right, yeah.
And so then to see them appear here and be expanded upon, I thought was really cool. I think there's some really cool modelling you could do with them as well.
Yeah, they're an interesting unit on the table because they're a support squad. Can't be the Warlord. They can be a retinue for a Master of the Legion, Blood Angels dude. And
they're essentially sort of mini Centurions. They're not quite Centurions, but not far off.
Yeah, which can only essentially, you can use them as an HQ in smaller games. I suppose you can use them as a retinue. There are only maximum of 5 of them in a squad with a 2-up armor save. That's fine. Combat shields, yeah. Chosen warriors, always good. Coming with bladed judgments, +2 strength, AP3, initiative, rending 6+, merger strike 6+. It's not terrible, is it?
No, I think they're a pretty solid take actually.
3 attacks base. That's cool. Obviously, your Blood Angels rules as well on top.
Jump packs
for 10 points each. Yeah, that's again, well, you kind of have to, don't you? Really? Blood Angels +1 to initiative in a challenge. It's not bad, and reroll fail to wounds and rending 4-up means. So what initiative are they? They're 4, so they're going at the same time as a lot of Centurions. So you can throw one of these out and against against a lot of characters, non-named characters, obviously, and give them up and have a good chance of getting some hits through.
Yeah, and they're quite useful against other retinues, I would say, as well.
Yeah, depending on the retinue. Yeah, that's you're relying on your rending a little bit in that because what are the weapons options? None. So yeah,
no,
you're
can't
stuck
take
with
power
your
fist.
bladed judgment. Or just anything that's AP2 basically, or to mix it up to go at high, like I quite like power lancers to be honest, on some stuff. But you're relying on your rendings there. But obviously, you can challenge out and things like that as well. They're quite a cool little unit. To me, they feel very build your army in that manner. And they fit a narrative more than anything else.
I would really like to do. They've been described as having black helms. They also described as having featureless helms or blank helms.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of doing a completely blank faceplate on them. A unit of those with just like the completely blank gloss black type of helmet on them. I could be really cool, really sinister looking thing, possibly with the eye emblem on it, possibly look a little bit Thousand Suns at that point, but I think that could look awesome.
Yeah, they could be really cool. So we're looking down then at the Morlocks, a unit choice that a lot of people wanted for the Iron Hands.
Much asked for, I think.
Yeah, indeed.
Something that's been desired since early days.
Yeah,
they are a key part of the Iron Hands lore.
150 points for 3 of them. They're actually cheaper to take after that than the Blood Angels guys at 35 points. Again, you can only have up to 5, but within this, so again, they're an HQ. They can be a retinue squad for a Master of the Legion and all that stuff as well. But they've got more options as much as anything else. So they've got all the Terminator stuff, obviously, but they're relentless, stubborn, battle hardened, which is fantastic for Iron Hands because you essentially count as strength 5, but you're also -1 to shooting strength. So strength 10 doesn't double you out.
That is handy,
which is pretty good. They've got the retinue, and then they got Fate of the Gorgon If you include Ferrus Manus, the squad gain the Chosen Warriors special rule, and if you don't include Ferrus Manus, you gain preferred enemy Emperor's Children. Cool, nice little bonus if you're fighting Emperor's Children. If you have got Ferrus Manus, Chosen Warrior, again cool. But they can have a Legion standard in there, which they can't. An Augury scanner, meh. There's not a huge amount of reason to take that. Although any model can exchange their combi belt for a Falkite Charger or Graviton gun, so potentially you can do that. But you've got Power Fist, Lightning Claw, and Chain Fist in there. They don't. I think the one issue I've seen is they don't stand out that much beyond what you can kind of already do.
No, I know what you mean.
So they become
there wasn't
a
something
lore
particularly
option. Stand out.
I mean, they sort of feel
Cool.
From equipment alone, they're quite cool. I mean, particularly seeing the leader in there with that Volkite it's pretty cool, and the amount of grav you can get in there is kind of fun. It feels very iron handy, but whether it doesn't bring anything particularly like super stand out, but the equipment's quite cool. It's kind of comes back to then when you put it in like that. That's kind of what exemplary battles is, isn't it?
Well,
exemplary battle units, I should say.
In general, they shouldn't be. In my opinion, I think this is the way they look at it. That they shouldn't be. You shouldn't be looking at the exemplary battle units thinking, "Oh, this is the new must take." They're there to expand on what you can do and within the narrative and etc. etc. And some will always be better than others, and we've seen that for sure. But I don't think they should be the first port of call when you're designing an army because of the nature of where they're released and stuff like that as well. I do wonder. I want GW to put these in a book at some point. Like there needs to be a collection. If it's just a collection at the end, but the problem we've got is we've got your Liber Hereticus, Liber Astartes, whatever. You got your exemplary battle. You want to pick one unit from. You've got your whatever it's called for the stuff that's not in the books, the legacy stuff. Whatever they're doing with it. All of a sudden, you've got to bring a lot of different sources for all the game information. And these exemplary battles are in individual. Like unless you actually go and make a PDF document and put them all in one together and just take out the rules, and highlight that in there. It's just paperwork everywhere, isn't it? I'd like to see it all brought together.
Agree. I just think I'm slightly more inspired. I'm slightly more inspired by the Blood Angels one than I am by the unit. Arguably more than I would expect. Well, that helps, doesn't it? Yeah. And I'm a fan of those particular models. Yeah, and I think that's the issue. They didn't surprise me particularly, but I think they are cool actually. And as you say, with the battle hardened was somewhat just give them a bit of flavour beyond the norm. Yeah, I thought it was an excellent exemplary battle. I thought.
Good stuff. That's what we like to see. Where do we get up to?
I believe we're finished now with the Legion upgrades. We didn't, and that was the last one, I think, isn't it? Yeah. As in, when I say it's the last, as it's the last.
Cool. The Legion upgrades, which are just basic Mark 6 helmet. Ooh, controversial.
You deliberately stirring the pot there.
I think I quite like the sharper beaked ones. Or the black with the highlights does. I mean, it's almost like the Ultramarines here. You're wondering, have they done enough to make it worth buying?
It's very interesting that there was a comment that they had Andy comment on it. That they had Andy comment on the design thinking behind this about the Mark 6 is already fairly iconic as this. I'm surprised they didn't go. And I could have sworn they already had this, and I can't find them. I thought they had like a version, and I thought it might have been a 40k upgrade set for Raven Guard that had the beaky helmet, but with a sort of beak-like sculpted, scalloped version of the nose cone, effectively. I can't find that anywhere. I don't. Maybe it's been discontinued or whatever. But I thought they'd go down that route where they just make these things look really beak-like. I actually quite like the thinking behind it. They're saying, well, these guys have
Yeah,
developed the prototype, so let's hark back to the original versions of Mark 6.
just makes it hard
Cool.
to spend, yeah, whatever, however
Yeah,
much it is
and they're
on helmets
completely
you've
agree.
already got. Like,
Yeah.
but again, in similar way to like the Space Wolves potentially, or a couple of the others, it might be worth buying one, like,
Yeah.
and spreading them around. But I can't imagine you buy many of these as a Raven Guard player.
The
'Cause,
sergeant head and the unhelmeted head is cool.
yeah, and Helmets' head is very cool. They've nailed most of those.
Yes,
Problem is, again, you're playing at 2.5 foot away.
I
You
completely agree.
know,
The
so
subtlety
you just lost
is
on a
quite
model that's black.
considerable.
It's usually black as well.
Mm,
Becomes hard to dig out any details when there you go. Actually, I just want you to know that I paid for each of those heads.
mm,
You'd
mm.
have to tell people, and then you're heading that way, aren't you? But hey, it is what it is. We'll have to see where we move next with what they do for legions moving forwards, because there'll be something that they do and roll out. I mean, we've still got a few
Yeah,
praetors and things to go to round out that. Um, who knows? And now they've shown off some contemptor bodies. Got that as well. But anyway, we'll do that in a second. The Cerberus.
Cerberus. Yeah, another faithful, a fairly expected kit from both from the
Yes.
hint and from the just applying logic to what they were going to do. Cool model. Not a lot else to say, really.
No, I like the recessed third gun. I don't know why. I don't try to remember the old Cerberus model actually. It's
I
been a while
assumed it
since
was a faithful remake of that. Is there some adjustment compared
I
to the previous?
think it might be. I don't know. Because it was rarely seen.
Mm.
Because it was terrible. Yes, it does look like it is a fairly faithful um, reconstruction of that. Yeah, it's just like the plastic kit they've done with the Spartan, and
Mm.
then the options to make it work this way is great. We've got they've shown off the three versions. Like maybe we'll get something different down the line.
Mm.
Why not? It's easy enough to do, isn't it? The
I
size of
think
the
it looks
gun,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, we'll not go there. It looks cool. I think Cerberus is coming soon, and people will start.
Personally, I prefer the Typhon
Cool.
as a heavy tank of that nature. But yeah, all good.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty much, isn't it?
That's
Right.
kind of as much as you can say, really. Then after that
Esoterist.
was the
Traitor
East-Terrace.
esoterist, yes.
Yeah.
Traitor esoterist, I was right.
Well, yeah, but the article does say it can be either.
What are your thoughts on this model?
What are my thoughts on it? Unfortunately, I did see someone talking about it, a prominent YouTuber, and he mentioned that he couldn't look past the sleeve. And
So,
since hearing that be said, I've unfortunately
yeah.
fallen into the same trap.
Well, so and I initially looked at it, briefly looked at it, came up. I was like, that's awesome. Or cool. Then as I looked at it more, I was like, Then I saw the sleeve mentioned and kind of noticed it. Anyway, I kind of realised I'd noticed
Mm,
it. And the more you notice it, the more you think. So what we're talking about is the fact that the sleeve is flat, and the the space in the sleeve is painted on, and I'm going to use the wrong words here, but not in a style that makes it look like it's got the depth that
no,
could
and I
be
would
done.
say it's also I'm sure when we see the actual model, there will be a certain
Slot,
amount of
maybe.
recess there. It's not purely painted on. Regardless,
Yeah, it does look
it
to have
makes
some
it makes
shape at the top.
yeah, there's a little bit there, but it's just it's a slight recess to suggest that
Mm.
this. Okay, that's how molds work. You can't have an undercut too heavily in this, but you could make that 2 parts. Plastic does it a bit badly.
Surely they could have made that 2-part and then the arms stick in.
They could have done, and they do in other models.
Yeah.
Plastic particularly would have lent itself to it, but obviously you can't do all mold plastic. But it just stood out, and then that made me go back and question the amount of robes.
Sure.
Somehow, I love the psychic hood type of thing.
Yep.
That's part of the backpack. I think that's a fantastic version. I like the helmeted head. I think it is definitely more traitor than it is loyalist.
Loyalist, yeah.
I would have bet
Although it
money.
depends on the Loyalist Legion, because I think
Fair.
like the skull on that could play into Scars or Space Wolves potentially.
Yes, that's a fair point. I would have thought, I would have bet money when they showed an outline of this, because I thought it was going to be a librarian, but yeah, all right, similar. When they showed the silhouette of this, I thought that they were going to do 2 different heads on the staff,
Right,
and that you'd get a slightly more Chaos one and a slightly more Imperial one.
Sure.
I'm slightly surprised that obviously that's something you could pretty easily do yourself. But I just thought that would be something you could do just to slightly tend it away from the more chaotic. I mean, effectively,
do we reckon that staff's
chaos.
1 piece? Do we reckon they didn't want you gluing a thin?
I think it is a separate piece. I think it's very unlikely that that's been cast, because if they look at things like Malagast, he's got a staff that's similar, and that's a separate piece.
Sure,
I would imagine it's probably a separate piece. That would be extremely difficult to cast that with the rest of the model.
Yeah, because of
therefore, I think you would.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think you'd be or it's the weight of resin that you'd have over on one side relative to this little spindly bit. So I would have thought that would have been a swappable piece, because then you'd have, because that is essentially a chaos skull with a skull attached to it, making it even more chaotic. Just would have thought that would be something you could do to add a certain amount of extra variety, because at the moment it's far more traitor than loyalist, but kinda. But then it's that's the nature of an esoterist, you could say.
Yes, I must admit. So the more I looked at the staff, the model itself, the more I withdrew my initial love of it. There are aspects of it I really like. I don't mind the robed head. I think it's quite cool.
No, I don't either. I think I prefer the helmeted head, but I don't mind the robed head either.
I think there are lots of parts of this model I like, but I'm not sure how well it all comes together. I don't mind the back view, to be honest. I think the back view is cool.
Agree. I think all the extra detail on all the kit that he's carrying is cool. I think,
and maybe even the pose of the arm. I don't know. Yeah, something doesn't quite sit right with me on that, and it's not
there's
just.
a possibility that there's something in the hand,
maybe.
like having him doing that, and you could almost, again, hearing someone say,
the thing is that can do
doing a stereotypical Italian gestures. It's sort of poisoned it for me. But you can play silly. Yeah, you can play silly games like that forever.
There are cruder memes as well.
There are, but
also, is he raising something up? Like there are lots of things that hand just.
I don't mind that. There's something about the amount of robes, and it might be the paint scheme, because it's obviously a particularly contrasty paint scheme of the green and the red, obviously. But I feel like the robes are a smidge too dominant, but I quite like all the other stuff that's going on in it.
Yeah, you feel. Yeah, there's potential that they get in the way as he's moving around the battlefield. It could be the robes. It could be that.
It's just
the silhouette. Like there's the psychic hood is quite dominant. It's quite bulky. It's quite large. Which is that good or a bad thing? I'm not 100% sure. I'll be honest with you.
I like it. I think it's.
As a whole,
I think it's cool.
I don't think it's a bad model. I just don't think I'll get one.
It's not an instant. My goodness, that's something I need in my collection.
I do wonder if that arm is putting me off as well.
I think that's probably the thing that's doing it for me.
And then the problem with that is you can't just swap that arm out because of the nature of the robes that are with it.
And I think that's one of the issues. I think that it's also a much busier model than perhaps we're used to in a traditional
plastic.
Centurion thing. Yeah, it does.
It feels, when you look at it, it feels plastic. But again, that part of that's probably a trick of the mind with the still getting used to the specialist games heavy metal design, heavy metal paint jobs. But yeah, I don't know with the it's not. I'm not going to rush out and get it. That is for sure.
No, that was
Some time.
that's the same kind of conclusion I came to, I think.
Cool stuff.
And then there was one last release.
Contemptors.
Yeah,
So
highly
yes,
controversial.
what have we got? We've got Dark Angels, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, White Scars, and Salamanders. No, Sons of Horus.
No, yeah.
No, yeah.
Sons of Horus, Imperial Fists,
Sorry, apologies. Yeah,
Dark
no, I was
Angels.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they're getting rid of or they've got rid of, because people have gone out and bought them. It's quite funny. They were like, "Yeah, we're not going to make any more of these," and then people rush out to buy them because they've always wanted one and just haven't bought them till now, which is the classic. And then the demand's really high for these. Well, yeah, it is when you tell people they will never be available again. Demand was really high for them beforehand. They might have kept them.
Yeah.
I do wonder how many of those contemptors they were selling now the plastic one was out.
Well, quite, and it was. How do you buy the weapons for them?
Yeah, I think the decision was made beforehand because the resin weapons and the resin arms and the plastic weapons didn't fit, but also like Forge World, as a shop, I've got a lot more lines. There's more Heresy stuff coming. Okay, some of that resin stuff's been moved to plastic and been moved off, but they've got other game systems they're making for as well. Also, like Games Workshop don't want to be making lots of resin stuff. Like it's more hassle.
I would have thought
awkward.
eventually they're going to want to try and phase that out almost altogether.
Yeah, I don't think they
or
ever
keep
will
it for
quite
very
get
very
there.
niche models.
Exactly. I don't think they'll get there for a long time if they ever do.
No. We're talking many years of.
So Games Workshop have the decision to make. Do we keep around these 18 different dreadnoughts where they've got legs, arms, bodies, all sitting on the shelf, or do you get rid of all that and have 18 torsos sat on the shelf? I think that's got to be a major aspect of it because the weapons don't. We'd have to retool the arms to make them work with the plastic arms for starters. The hassles that go with that, and also actually, I wonder, although they are cool kits, how many were they selling? Bearing in mind, we're probably going to get a higher price rise on resin than we are plastics in the price rises to come, potentially. Going to compete with the plastic Contemptor. So I see why they've done it. Is it like the best thing for gamers? Maybe not. Is it a major issue? The thing that gets me, and I will have my little bit here. I've heard this is pushing people towards recasters. No, it's not. If you want a Contemptor,
that's a bit of a stretch. Yeah,
you can buy a Contemptor. Simple as. Games Workshop are not stopping you from being able to play the game with the appropriate model. They might not make the model you want anymore. If you go to a recaster, that is your choice. Stop making excuses for it. Right? Because that's all it is. It's they're pushing me this way. No, they're not. If you want a Space Force Contemptor, they'll bring out a Space Force body. Will it look quite as nice as a Space Force one? No. Okay, cool. But you can still play the game with the model they provide you with. You don't even need these. Like, if you want to play the game,
you have access to a model that has a greater utility than the resin version did.
Yeah. So
and at a better price point for the cost of a minor, relatively minor, depending on your point of view, design availability. And I think the logic is sound.
Also,
a complete design one that would be quite nice, but. Then they have to support all the weapon variations as well. Continue keeping those in stock in resin. It's not going to happen.
also you have like people. There are third-party companies who make things that could be used as contemptors, potentially, right? Which are all legal and above board, and some of them might be dubious, bit grey area, whatever. You don't have to go to a recaster, right? Again, you've made your decision that you don't like. You're going there for your reason. Just, like, GW aren't making you do it. This is the nature of business and just real life, isn't it? We lose we lose a little bit, but what we're gaining is a cheap contemptor.
Yes,
At the end of the day,
with
and that's
greater
part of the problem.
utility and the greater usability of plastic, etc.
If this had been done the other way around, where they'd stopped them and then bought out a contemptor, like, it would look better. But because they've already bought the contemptor out, people are just losing something now. So, yeah, would I want, some of those contemptors were lovely, don't get me wrong. It's a shame to see them go, but it's happened.
Yeah, I mean, they're looked upon fondly, apparently not fondly enough to.
Well, yeah, I mean, just logistics for forge welders, I think, again, as much as anything else. Like, resin's a pain in the ass. Compared to plastic, it's like a massive pain in the rear. Simple as that, isn't it? Really?
It did, without question. Yeah,
yes.
I think the plastic contemptor is widely accepted as being far easier to work with, and just having that one-piece torso gets
and
you,
cheaper.
80% of the way there.
Yeah, and it's considerably cheaper as well.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely, especially when you're buying it in your box and you're basically getting it free.
You do get, I mean, some of them are, well, even the White Scars one, which is one of the more heavily detailed ones of this. Okay, because I saw a criticism saying, well, it's completely out of step then with the sort of the plainness of the arms and the legs compared to the highly detailed torso. Yeah, to a degree, but is it that? I mean, with paint transfers and stuff, it's not. It's relatively minor. It is minor, the difference.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we can't change it. We can't dictate what's happening there.
No, and there's a very understandable, logical reason behind it.
Yeah,
and I can't complain with that.
And if you're gutted they're going, fair enough, cool. Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't be. It's a shame when something cool gets taken off. In the grand scheme of things, meh.
Yeah.
There's lots of cool stuff out there, and there's lots of people doing cool stuff in the hobby as well. Like, companies will make stuff that can bling out your dreadnoughts. It's going to happen. Like, as soon as there's a market there, 3D printing companies are and individuals are stepping in to go, hey, I've made some cool runic kind of items that can hang, and wolf pelts and stuff that can hang off of vehicles or buildings or anything with maybe slightly
some kind
curved
of heavy walkers. Yeah,
exactly. So that something will rise to take place if, and will be available if there's demand for it. But hey, it's all good. If we wanted them, maybe we should have bought more of them. But then, it's not cheap, is it? We are recording this just before the End of the Death comes out. You're all ready?
Oh my god!
Set? Yeah,
I did a bit of prep for that today.
I just
emotionally preparing myself. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be rough.
Clearing my reading schedule like a week and a bit in advance. Not picking up anything, not starting anything that I can't just put down for when that arrives and crack on with it.
Re-listening to Titan Death.
Oh yeah.
Just because Titanicus was featured recently, but I can put that down, no trouble at all for this. But I mean, goodness me, I just kind of want it. Yeah, just want to get a hold of it now.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like that long since it was really talked about that this is coming out.
No, I agree with that.
And I appreciate that's probably because part 2, if it's 2 of 2 or 2 of 3 or whatever, but part 2 is kind of linked to it and therefore ready to come down the line. I hope they bring it out fairly quickly. I think I mentioned that before. I hope there's not too long a wait for that.
What do you reckon? 6 months? 3 months?
I would like I'd love it to be 3 months, but it won't be 3 months.
No, it's going to be 6, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So what we end of February, March, April, May, July, August. Yeah, maybe.
I
Who
could see
knows?
it being August. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see it being August or even later, September.
I could see it being even
I'll
later.
list
But
the other months that come after August. Yeah,
we shall
I
have
think
to
that's
see.
realistic. Fingers crossed.
Exciting times, and
It's
good
a
that they're going to
busy old
release.
weekend because
And
it's not just that coming out. There's another. Is it a Dawn of Fire
there's the
book?
Dawn
That's
of
a highly
Fire
limited
book,
one.
yeah, and some cool models as well. So,
Yeah,
but good that they're going to release it all. We've had a simultaneous release of ebook limited
that is
edition,
excellent.
and that
Yes,
is so important now as we get near the end when people will be talking and spoiling and everything else.
yes.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I might have to make sure. Hopefully that will arrive on the Saturday, and I can be sat in, not going out, reading that all Saturday. Groovy, and then price rises.
Yeah, yes. That was
So
the thing that came along, wasn't it?
a
Yeah.
lot of vitriol.
I not nowhere near as much as I expected.
Depends which groups you're on, and depends which game systems you're playing.
Maybe I'm
There
selective.
are so been looking at Blood Bowl a lot more recently, and listening to stuff. And it's quite funny the Blood Bowl community's relationship to Games Workshop. They seem to think that Games Workshop owes them a little bit for keeping the game going, or
Mm,
that Games Workshop needs to be careful about stepping in on a community that can run itself. So there's a lot of love for 3D for 3D
mm,
printed models and third-party models of various kinds for Blood Bowl, which all seem to be these are much better than the GW ones. And I look at them and like, nice model, rubbish poses, um,
mm,
especially compared to
mm.
GW ones. But there seems to be this real kind of like can't give GW too much credit
Yeah.
in quite a lot of aspects of the Blood Bowl community, and there's a lot of rage about some of the price rise in there compared to some
Okay.
of the other kind of departments and whatever.
Mm, mm.
But what made me laugh was there's a lot of they've done this before. Like it wasn't long ago since we did have a Forge World price rise, um, not that long ago, relatively.
Mm.
One thing I think to remember is some of these people are not English and don't realise that inflation is 10% at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That we are currently suffering um, a massive rise in heating bills, in fuel bills, in basics, a lot of basics, distribution, transport, and then costs from additional export issues and stuff like that, which GW swallowed for a while with the EU. I don't know if they're still
Yes.
swallowing
As far
aspects of
as I
that.
know, well, depends what you need to put this down to, but yes.
But yeah, I don't really know where they got to with that.
No.
But for quite a while, EU said it's going to cost us a bit more to send you stuff in the EU. We're going to swallow that cost for a while. So people conveniently forget about those little things, and they're like money grabbing, greed. Currently in the UK, residential properties have the government have made sure there's a price maximum per unit of energy, which is below what oil companies wanted to charge us. Companies don't have that same protection. There's a lot differently.
Mm.
When you hear people saying, surely it can't cost that much more now to make models than it did a year ago, there's a lot of extra cost going in. Funnily enough, I said to Emma, Games Workshop are putting their prices up, and she went, "Oh, like everyone else," because that everything in the UK has gone up a lot
Yes.
over the last year. Again, do I want to pay more for my toys? No, no one
Who
does, do
does?
they?
But it's
Exactly.
realistic. Also, they communicated it.
Yeah, and they've given you time to
They
get all these
communicated
things,
it, and they've given you a chance to do something about it.
and
Yeah, you could say it's. I mean, it's a bit. It's the only thing that is a bit tricky. I'm not choosing my words particularly carefully there, but is the fact that it came on the back of various independents or traders being charged an additional 6%, meaning that their discount is less, or off if it pretty much
Sure.
always is. And then on top of that, the prices are going to go up, so things are going to suddenly start to become noticeably more expensive.
Yeah.
But that's life. I mean,
And GW do have their agreements with their trade is they're tough, aren't they? They are tough. They're a
yeah,
tough company, and they set out what they want to do, and at the end of the day, lots of people agree to do it. They're the big boys, I suppose. Um, I, I sit there
they
and I
make
look,
more. They clearly make more money doing stuff, selling
and they
stuff
yeah,
through their own channel. Why? Of course they do.
yeah, absolutely. But it's a hard one because they know that these independents probably need to sell Games Workshop. Aside from Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh and whatever the card games that make lots of
Mm,
money, like GW, the big miniatures company, aren't they? So they know their worth at the end of the day, and they're aggressive, or they play hardball a little bit with the
yeah.
trade outlets. That's just the way they work. Whatever. So the one thing I'm a little bit funny with is that it's an average of 6%, but it
Mm.
appears to be that they're counting the stuff they're not rising within that average. Um,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, I think there's a little bit of a
If that's
suggestion.
if that's accurate,
Yeah, a pinch of salt there, but I've seen a few things and it looks like it could be argued that they're like there's an average of 6% across the line, and including some
mm,
of the stuff. Well, plastics is average is 6%, isn't it? But I think some other stuff's going to go up a bit of a chunk. But keeping starter sets, paint sets, paint pots, citadel tools, codexes, rulebooks, and battle tomes, and synthetic brushes at no charge. That's clever, right?
mm,
Let's not be. That's how people get into the hobby. They're sensible. You can have your not quite lost leaders out front there. Um, I think resin might take a bit of a bigger jump than something else.
yeah, I think and just because there's so much involved with it, I could see that
Yeah,
taking a bit of a kicking, like you say.
which would be a shame. But again, it is what it is. At the end of the day, like as you say, like we all want to pay less for, or we certainly don't want to pay more for the things we were buying last week. But when I go shopping and some of my vegetables gone up 30% odd,
Mm,
I
mm.
it's GW. We had one guy in our gaming group who was it's like, oh, I'd like them to, accept it and make a loss. And it's like, well, they can't do that because because of the nature of they're being a traded
There
company.
are rules. Yeah, exactly.
And
There are
it's like,
rules
well,
to that.
yeah. And it was something along the lines of understand how markets work, but it would be nice for them to swallow it. Well, you don't understand how markets work. That they're not allowed to do that. That harms them big time, and shareholders will be like, no, what are you doing? Plus, you don't want to put yourself in a position and then have something happen that's not under your control, comes out of the blue, and you're in a weaker
Yeah,
position than you were. Like that's not how businesses work,
these
do
things
they?
can unravel pretty quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if it works out as an average of 6%, then that's not unreasonable under the
Mm,
current way the UK is going. I
no.
appreciate if you live abroad, different different things are happening, but GW are a British company.
Yeah.
And we'll be set like that. And then we're going to get the old Americans. £30 is only $35, not $47, and it's like cool. Buy me some Levi jeans because they're about 5 times the price they are in the UK as they are in America, or certainly were anyway. You know, but there's a little bit of me that's like good because for years we've had to pay extortionate amounts to get American stuff. But yeah, I know it's being petty.
You Schadenfreude.
It is what it is at the end of the day. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you, you make your choice. Some people will down tools and be pushed away to other things. It's like, well, you're not pushed. Chances are most people have enough stuff to not buy anything for a while
Mm,
and just
mm,
get on with their things. Secondhand market's still out there. The one thing about GW is you go on eBay now and start looking at stuff that's not Mark 6 Marines, right? And you're paying 75 to 80% of some of the costs of what you're buying. Like you don't
mm.
find the bargains that easily unless it's something that's ruined. You know, you can
Yeah,
sell stuff.
something that is a huge amount of work to actually get to work. I agree. You have to work pretty hard now for anything to be like really like wow. Okay, then you're getting a bulk of stuff here for not much at all.
Yeah, you might find the odd thing that you have to strip down or whatever. There are still good deals out there, but if you want to sell your stuff and you're patient, you can get a half decent price for it. So it's not
Do you
like you.
think the Age of Darkness box set will count as a starter set?
I
I suspect
don't
not.
think it isn't. I don't think it is a starter set.
No, okay. No, but that's what I wondered. I wonder
Yeah.
what is technically
No,
a
I
starter
think in
set.
fact there's loads of stuff going around online, and somewhere it did go up, but it was a fantastic deal anyway. Like
Well,
even if it
yeah,
goes up, it's still a good deal.
yeah.
It's again, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm sitting here with you and me are sitting here with new babies, right? And I'm currently remortgaging as well. Um, that's a big jump. Like I'm sitting here with not a huge amount of money to throw around, and
Decisions
cool.
have to be made. Yeah,
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe I buy this year. Cool.
it's not going to be disastrous, is it?
No, and we're lucky that GW choose to support us and send us things every now and then, and I was able to send you over a Horus, so you don't have to buy a Horus. Cool.
It's true.
Hold our hands up. We're a bit lucky in that, but also, God, we work we work on the show. There's time and effort that goes into it. It's not like if I put this time and effort into a second job, I'd be earning a lot more money than I am doing this. So
Side hustles are all the thing right now, I hear.
indeed, yeah, second jobs, in other words. So yeah, price rise, naff, but it is what it is, isn't it? So, again, unfortunately, this show's going to be a little bit kind of chat about what's happened, and a little bit off. We're going to come back next month. We will be chatting some more topic-based stuff. We're trying to get on track. Thank you for bearing with us. Hopefully, it's still interesting. But one thing I was looking to do with you, Howard, and I'm just going to spring this on you now,
Oof, I like these. He does this
because
occasionally, everyone. He just
indeed, I mean,
get
this
these
was
little
supposed to happen.
curveballs.
Supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago, and ideally, probably I should have thought of this for the January episode, but we're a month and a bit into 2023. Have you got plans for 2023 with
Now
Heresy?
that's an interesting conversation. Um, Not specifically, but even just being asked the question does make me want to have a plan. The reason for saying
Yeah,
that is because I know this is probably as a result of now being back in our, the house where we've been doing some work
yeah,
and been away from for so long.
settled.
Yeah, a bit more settled. I am looking at the stuff that I've got and I've been putting together. I'm basically putting into boxes and going, this is insane. I need to rationalize this so that the things I have, I'm making more use of and enjoying more.
Yeah,
I've been collecting things and putting things there, and people variously call those piles of potential, piles of shame, whatever. And I'm thinking this is a bit silly. I'd quite like to streamline and focus in. With Heresy, my plan for the longest time was to build a selection of smaller forces,
mm,
set armies at sort of 1,500, 2,000 point level of a range of things rather than having one enormous collection of one legion that I could field everything ever on. Kind of, obviously, that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. I'd quite like to get back to that, and I was using the Goonhammer Legion kind of intro lists
yeah,
as a way of doing that. They've done some of those, but not all. And with the new version of the game, obviously, that rather turns a lot of that on its head from what they had previously. So, what I'd quite like to do is settle in on a legion or two and use those as the focus of a hobby project, and through that rationalize the collection down
sure.
considerably. I've been thinking more generally about what games I'm playing and what games I'm enjoying playing, and those are the ones I'd like to focus in on. And frankly, that's Heresy and Titanicus.
Cool.
Not really the others. There's quite a few others that I think might need to start taking a back seat or possibly be cut altogether.
Is this selling stuff then? Yeah.
Yes, selling
Is
stuff rather than just putting stuff
getting
there.
rid of stuff. Yeah, like
I think so, because it becomes a bit ridiculous in terms of storage purposes.
Yeah. And and there are things that come with, like, there's a reason people call it a pile of shame, because when you walk in, you have a negative connotation to
Yes, agreed.
to seeing stuff there, and that's not necessarily shame per se, but it can spark thoughts like, I'm 42, right? Realistically, right, how much time do I have to play all the different games that I want to play? And my problem is I quite like all the games that GW
Same,
make for different
same.
reasons, and I've made the decision. For me, Necromunda, our gaming group, I'm quite, in a way, if I had a real narrative close gaming group, it'd be even harder. But I don't have a kind of gaming group that can handle the the, the self-restraint needed to play Necromunda. Because
Interesting.
there's
I didn't
so
think you were going
many
to say that, but that's interesting.
so many different rules in that, and there's so much stuff you can do that you probably shouldn't do to make a game, particularly a campaign, fun over a period of time. So you know what, Necromunda can go, because I'm not going to play it. Now, do I get rid of all my terrain? It's a different story, potentially, maybe, depending on what else is happening. I'm loving Kill Team at the moment, because I can play 2 games of that at the club. I can just play a quick game somewhere. It's really cool, really fun game. For the same reason I've started collecting Underworlds again, but only Rivals format. I'm not going to go card chasing. It'll be, I have a few different ones. I can pull one out, little warband, and play. Warcry doesn't quite hit for me, actually, to be fair. It's not really a game I'm that interested in. Great, awesome, brilliant.
The problem is with Warcry, the models are so bloody good.
They are. They're one of the best ranges. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. This is why it's so good. Fortunately for me, in my bank account, the GUR setting doesn't really do it for me.
Sure. Yeah.
But which is quite fortunate. But the warbands are bloody brilliant.
They are lovely. But even with 40k, I like 40k. I like the setting as much as anything else. And I've got my Space Wolves, which I'm never going to sell now. Like, I'd had my old Space Wolves, which kind of said the same thing, but then Primaris came out, so I've got my Space Wolves. They're fine. Cool, I'll collect them. I've actually got Custodies as well, to the point where I might as well get some of the 40k stuff with that at some point down the line. Cool. I bought for Christmas. I got the League of Votan Grimnir model. It's
really nice. That really
I
really
just
nice.
got the model, and I can see myself having, because nature of who I am and what I am. I can see myself having forces that bleed into my Space Wolves, whether it's some guard allies or what have you, at some point down the line. But it's not a focus. Age of Sigmar, I've got a load of ogres from Warhammer Fantasy. Loads of them, and I've kept them because I'm going to do them for Age of Sigmar in the end. But actually, I've got my giants, and I've got my cruel boys, which are unpainted, untouched, and actually I want to do them more. And I've got to the point where it's like, yeah, the ogres are going to go, cool, because I don't play a huge amount of Age of Sigmar. My big giants, if I want to have fun, just quick game, I want to use the cruel boys as, and I don't have to get everything for the cruel boys. That's a big thing. Like, I don't love them the way I love Space Wars. I don't need one of everything, although hopefully at some point, I will paint enough that I can get all of that, but it's not a drive, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so I'm a sort of similar situation, and I need to streamline
Age of
that down a
Sigmar
lot.
could be in trouble for my own collection. And hearing you say that, I got in. I mean, for years I used to describe all fantasy as square-based nonsense. So I was sci-fi all day. Never really got into the fantasy side of things. Age of Sigmar 2 comes along. I was like, okay, this looks kind of cool. This has got a whole other side of it. This box looks amazing. The Nighthaunt, as they were then, the design of those just blew me away. I just don't see me playing. I've got a bunch of Stormcast from those sets. I've got a bunch of Nighthaunt. Am I going to sit and paint the 80 bloody ghosts that I got on the front of that magazine for $1.99? No, of course not. To the point, as I say, where if I really ask myself that, if I want to play a mass battle 28 mil game, It's going to be Heresy,
That's cool.
which starts to make you question 40k. Now, I've got a feeling, we've said it once and we've said it numerous times, I like a hype train. I'm happy to be on board that. So when potentially a certain edition of something comes along this year,
It'll be
that's going to be interesting.
So it's interesting with 40k because there's I don't know if you've seen the chat about what could potentially be happening with
I have.
40k, and it could be going slightly down an Age of Sigmar path. And I think that would push me away from playing it as much. But I love 40k because I love the background.
Me too.
And
And
I will always
I would
play
find
it
it very difficult.
occasionally. Yeah.
I would find it very difficult as a piece of design. I'm a big fan of what they've done with Primaris Marines and otherwise, just as a piece of design of a Space Marine thing to take that forward. I like the idea, and I like the division of that between that and what Heresy is.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of, just from the pure nostalgia point of view, I'm a fan of the Blood Angels faction. So when there's a bit of a focus on that, when there's Tyranids as well, I think Tyranids are cool. That's not ever going to have a place in any way, shape, or form in Heresy, or by its very nature. So when they do some cool stuff with that, you're like, oh god, that's going to be a problem.
Weirdly, Tyranids, I want to collect a Tyranid army. I do, but I won't. But I did get a Tyranid kill team.
What you say about Leagues of Votan, like kill team,
and
when they do that itch.
When they do a Votan kill team, I will get that. I'm sure at some point, and I might not get it straight away, but I will get it at some point. So I'm using that.
Did you get any RBTs?
I will do. Again, the other thing is, just because I can get something cheaper now doesn't mean I should get it now. Just because it's cheaper.
Yes.
Better to wait and pay an extra £5 in 2 years' time when I might actually get around to painting it.
I'm trying to learn that as well. I think that initial, I must have this now.
Yeah, and
that is waning, which is quite a big deal because people have said that to me for a long time, that you should get off that train, and I didn't think I would be able to do so.
The big thing to do with that, so Dave Witek of Garage Hammer fame started to implement a 2-month no purchase period around new stuff, and the problem is you miss that extra 5% off or whatever, which is why they do that extra 5% off in pre-order week. They're not stupid. But he had his 1 or 2 armies that he was like, I'm buying everything for that army, no matter what. Cool, crack on. Anything else, I'm not going to purchase it until it was 1 or 2 months, right? And then if I look back on it in 1 or 2 months and I still really want it, I'll buy it. But if I've moved on, then I didn't want it. So that becomes, and that's kind of my Votan thing. That's kind of the things I'm doing elsewhere. Again, I've got enough stuff. Like I've got.
I'm finding as well. Carry on.
No, go for it.
I'm finding as well that it's almost by an extension of that. I've discussed this amongst my group of friends who are into the hobby to varying degrees, and into different things. Michael into the books, for example, and friend down into 1 or 2 specific game systems, and then people like Ant and Stu who are all in on everything, much like myself. I think there's a definite point that even people who were pretty dedicated and keen to get all the things, like myself and others, the pace at which the releases have continued to come and continued to accelerate. We saw other people say, I can't be all in on this now. And we said, that's cool. That's for you. We still are. I still am. We've crossed potentially even another threshold where it's gone, actually that's starting to, my enthusiasm is waning slightly because it's been diluted through the amount of these things coming along in the same way. Whereas there was a point where it was slightly slower or slightly fewer releases, it was easier to dive in and get excited about those things. Now it's kind of
for fewer games.
Like when there's 2 major box sets being released in a weekend with the Warcry, the Kill Team, that is, and then there's all the add-ons of the box set that came out what seems like only 5 minutes previously. You're like, okay, I don't even have the desire to keep up with this in the same way that I once would have done. Whereas I was picking up Kill Team boxes because it felt significant. doesn't feel quite as significant now. But that means they're supporting all of these multiple games and allowing you to dive in and out. It's not
This is it,
intended
right?
for you to pick them all up.
We've got guys at the club now who only play Kill Team or only play Blood Bowl or only play whatever, and I kind of envy them in a way.
I agree.
If I could only play Blood Bowl and I just went to Blood Bowl events and tournaments and whatever, that'd be great. Cool. But I love it all too much. But I got to the point of even choosing the armies. So the reason I've got Sons of Behemoth is because it's 4 big dudes. Now I've got 5 big dudes, and I'm going to get 9 small dudes, and that's the army for a long time. And it's also the kind of army that I can take and I can just push it forward so people can play a quick game and have fun and enjoy Age of Sigmar, and go to events and not have to think. But also I want a little bit more than that. But I had Sylvaneth beforehand, which I don't have a connection with, and then play. And I've still got loads of Sylvaneth to sell. I need to wait till I can organise it all, and then eBay give me a 70% off weekend that I can start listing loads of it. But it helped me choose what army I was going to play. I stopped playing Stormcast because I was getting fed up of the colour scheme that I'd chosen to paint. But also I realised with Heresy, with Age of Sigmar, with 40k, like playing Space Marines in 40k, I'm playing the armies that get everything every edition. And I'm like, I can't keep doing that. If I get rid of the Stormcast, at least if it is, even if I play Karajan Overlords, I'm not going to get 5 new units every 2 years. Like it will be 1 or 2 more models / units every 2 or 3 years, and that's a big difference as well. Of course, we're talking about Heresy. From a Heresy viewpoint, if you play a Legion, you're going to get stuff semi-regularly. Fine, cool. Got my demons. Actually, my demons can be used for 40k and Age of Sigmar as well if I really wanted to. So that's not a bad army to own in that respect. But I need a focus. I must admit, I need a focus for 2023 and trying to sit down and paint with things that are happening. Just trying to get that little bit of time here and there. I'm not setting too many goals for 2023, except to do more.
I think I essentially want to be more productive.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think being a part of that for me is going to be being more selective and being. I mean, it kind of sounds obvious, being more focused. And I'm finding the amount of stuff is now leading to a paralysis, decision paralysis. I go in and go, there's just too much stuff. I don't know what to do. I'm going to sit here and move some things around. And exactly that. You think, well, this is silly. Now I'm putting that down to being between hobby spaces and moving back into a hobby space and creating one, but I still think it's fundamentally problematic. I thought that attending an event, and definitely that had an impact. I'm not sure it was necessarily a mentally positive one. I think it was one I was doing and I was finding I was exhausted and I was feeling like it was a chore. That's not a good sign. But on the other hand, it sharpened the mind, and I've now come out the back of that, having enjoyed that in such a way that I thought, for example, it taught me to play quickly. That's good, because that means I can probably enjoy games more. I didn't think it would be possible. My biggest fear going into November is I thought, I'm not going to finish a single game here, and people are going to get pissed off that I'm the guy they're trying to do a 2.5 hour game in 4 or 5 hours. In reality, that wasn't a problem at all. We actually smashed through them all. In the practice games I did for it, we were taking hours to play through a basic game, and it makes it less fun accordingly, because you're agonising over blooming decisions. So I'd like to focus in both in terms of hobby and gaming to enjoy them more, and that's because my time is at more of a premium than it ever has been.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think with events and stuff, having a goal for an event can be you're right, it can be a real driving force to do stuff, but it can burn you out and you end up doing. Some people come home from events not doing anything for a long period because they burnt themselves out before that event.
Yeah, so I could see that.
There's an understanding of, I know I can paint X amount of models in X amount of time, so 2 new units for that event. We used to have a guy on the scene, I'm not going to mention his name, every event he'd be up the night before painting. It wouldn't quite be finished how we want to. He'd spend all the time going, oh, it's not quite where I want it. But it's like, but you do this every single time, Dave. surely you know that it's not achievable for you. So don't try that. Like, change half the army next time, not the whole army. These things can be done.
Something that was quite fun. It was unexpectedly fun. This event I went to last weekend was turning up, and it was a team event. And turning up, and one of the team was like, "This is as far as I've got the models," and he was relatively new to the game, as he said himself. He was there for fun and just see how it goes. And actually, there was quite a big group of us, and we said, "Well, actually, we're here on the Friday night. We've got paints and brushes." He basically just put a single color on them, of sorts, a single color, and based them. There was some shading and stuff on it, but there was no trim, for example. The weapons were just metallic. And we said, I reckon, there was a group of us said, let's do this. Give everyone a brush, let's get some paint. We basically painted a fairly sizable proportion of a Titanicus force because it was a bunch of us in like 2 hours. In 3 hours. Wasn't expecting to do that at like 11 o'clock on the night before the event. But you hear people talking about painting units, but painting almost the entire force in that time. But it actually was quite cool and quite good fun. So you get these weird little moments where you're doing stuff like that, and it certainly was less stressful than having to take that on and spread that same effort out over months of effort potentially. But certainly, events help focus it, I think. But I'd quite like to just bring a little bit of that, because I think that will bring a greater level of enjoyment, and I think that's requiring a bit more focus and a bit more. I'm avoiding using the word discipline, but it's essentially that.
Well, isn't it? Yeah, because discipline's not a fun word.
Well, exactly, and then you start. Does it then start veering away from hobby? I've got a problem with people who use the term hobby butterfly negatively, because I think that's part of the fun, is that you can just go in and pick up stuff and move between things and do things that way. I don't think that's a negative thing. Yeah,
depends on what
exactly.
Depends on what you want to achieve at the end of the day.
Well, exactly. It depends what's bringing you satisfaction.
Yeah, and part of it depends if you've got armies already as well. If you haven't got anything to play and you're a hobby butterfly in that sense, and you're not finishing anything. I remember John Ascom, who used to work for GW, does the My Life in Miniatures podcast. At one point was saying, do I finish off these few Blood Angels for this force, or do I do this, which I really want to do? And I might finish a force, just get a force done. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's something psychologically about completing something. Like, say you were in debt, you had 5 credit cards, all maxed out, whatever. Like, to pay the least amount of money, you pay the highest interest rate credit card first, right? As quick as possible, and you pay minimums on everything else. Like, that's the best way, in commas, quotation marks, to pay off debt quickest. However, there are people who will say, find the smallest one, pay that off first, because you will get a sense of achievement from paying that off, and you might pay more, but you're more likely to stick with it because you can see the road ahead. You can say one down. So different things work for different people, for starters, but achieving a goal, this is why people break down tasks into smaller tasks, because you get those endorphin hits from achieving the task. You see progress, you realize you are achieving something.
I would also say my relationship with the game side of it has changed this year alone already, just because of going to an event and otherwise and trying to play more games. So therefore, I'm taking quite a lot of enjoyment out of that, and that's improving my enjoyment of it. And I'm now thinking rather differently of it. That might be because of the types of conversation. Contributing to that were the conversations that we've had on this very show. So, for example, even I was taking into it the importance of talking about what your intent is, for example, in the game. I took that into a conversation, and I took that into that, and also about what my intentions were with the game and everything else. Probably a coincidence. Happened to come away with a Sportsman Award. That's cool. I enjoyed these games. People I'm playing with seem to also enjoy it. I would argue that to me was what I would have aimed to achieve far more than anything else at an event. And as a result, that's changed kind of how I view the games and how I would play those games. And therefore, I'm taking more enjoyment out of that. So I'm now going to probably focus a bit more on having stuff for games rather than just painting stuff, because I like painting stuff.
Cool.
Interesting. I wouldn't have put myself in that place. So it's interesting, coming back to your original question of what are your goals. The whole basis of what I might see as a goal has changed, whereas previously I would have just painted for painting's sake and trying to, because of what even does complete mean.
Yeah.
Now it might be completing, as in I'm trying to complete forces for a game, whereas previously it would have been painting to complete a unit or just to have a go at a model or something like that. A legion, yeah, whatever. Yeah, come on.
Actual legion.
All 100,000 of them.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been able to play games of Heresy. I've been able to play games of Titanicus specifically. I've enjoyed both. And now that changes the nature of what I'm going to try and achieve in a short to medium term.
That's cool.
What about yourself? Have you had any significant changes in that? Because there's probably something that initiated that question.
Well, I was just looking forward to stealing from other podcasts, all the usual kind of things.
Yeah.
There probably was something big that I've forgotten about now. But I need to get paint on Space Wars. That is a big thing. Like, someone mech, my custodies in this edition work differently, so I need to paint some stuff, frankly, to be able to go and play events with an army I want to play with. So there's an aspect of that. I think as you do get older as well, that time becomes not in a kind of grandiose, morose way, but it's like
it's a conversation I've had with a couple of friends of mine. Yeah, it's a couple of friends of mine. We've had that conversation. Yeah.
By the end of this year, it's another year gone. What am I going to have done, and what can I use? Am I going to go another year without being able to play what I want to play, kind of thing? So there's an aspect of that. So I need to kind of crack on that side of things. And for me, it's not about setting a grand goal. I don't think it's just about want to see progress, because I think I can get a ball rolling a little bit, and then I know it will fall back. I know it will, I'll have ups and downs on my road. That's fine. Kind of accepting that as well. Like, it won't be linear progress the whole time. And I've got other game systems as well that I want to get stuff paid for. I just want more of my stuff actually painted. Like, just want more painted. Like, cool. And I might have to break that down a little bit as I go. And I haven't thought a huge amount about how I'm doing that. But I've also got two events to run this year, which need some organising, and I haven't really done a huge amount because of life. So, and because of new edition of Heresy, I'm wondering exactly what I'm going to do and what we're going to see coming out of GW.
Are they both Heresy events you're doing?
Heresy and 80.
It is 80.
Okay. So, yeah, got to get working on those, and then podcasts as well as part of it. Wondering what we're doing going forwards and trying to balance that all out now with having a 1-year-old son, and making sure that there is some time for the missus, as we said, whilst we sit here and chat for a few hours, while she looks after little and if he wakes up and things like that. So trying to bear all that in mind and get that balance right. I don't necessarily think I've got a grand plan involved. But maybe people do. Some people can sit and. The other thing I'm jealous of is people can go, I want to build this 2,000 point army and do it. And I'm like, I want option. I want all 100%. The options.
Yeah. That is the killer of those sorts of. Even my plan, using that term, is of I'm going to have some Legion forces of this. Well, yeah, of course. And then it's the one extra thing and the one extra thing, and then before you know it, it's spiraled again. It's easy to plan a lot of things as well and get a lot of stuff to enable that plan, and then off you go on to the next plan, and you'll come back to that plan, and so it's again circling back to that point about focus.
So overall, you're looking at kind of going back to your having armies able to play.
Yes, relatively small ones. We're not talking 3,000. We're not talking 4,000. We're talking probably 2,000 point ish, 1,500, 2,000 point lists of ideally paired legions.
Cool.
Was my original plan, and I'm going to work on those one at a way. I got Blood Angels so far. I've got them to a certain point. I've got some Imperial Fists to a certain point. More recently, Thousand Suns and Alpha Legion. Those are
'Cause
not the pairings, obviously.
You can plan the lists as well to roughly work
Yeah.
against each other, which is quite nice. Quite like that. And then
That means I can host games, which is what I'm
yeah,
keen to do. I'm keen to play more games, and I like the idea of hosting those. If my friend Grant lives nearby, if he can bring his army, as he did, we played a few games of AT when he came down last time. He hosts games for Heresy. I've been up there and we played 3-player games of that, where everyone's bringing their own army. Great. But there are other friends of mine I'd just like to be able to say, come over.
Yeah.
We've got a Saturday afternoon free. We'll play some games. You don't need to bring anything.
I think terrain's gonna have to be on my list for the garage as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a bit of a pain, to be honest.
I've got there to a degree with Titanicus. I can put together a pretty sensible Titanicus board now. A couple of them actually. In terms of different setups, 28 mil, nowhere near.
No, I need to plan a bit.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a Zone Mortalis board that I can
You
use,
certainly
which
have.
I need to get out. There was a friend of mine was selling his Smaug, Miniature Realm Studios, painted a Smaug, realised he didn't have enough room for it. I was like, I'm gonna have to sell it, and it was 750 quid on eBay. And like Smaug himself's 400 odd quid, and I'm like,
I thought it was 200.
oh,
I'm
gone up.
thinking
Maybe
of
it's
a few years ago. Yeah.
Let's have a little look, see if we can find it, shall we? 418. Yeah, I mean it's a big boy. He's a big boy. So for that price, for a decent paint job on it, I was like, and luckily someone else purchased it like about an hour before I said, yeah, I'm going to have it. I was almost at the point of I might have to sell my Zone Mortalis board to buy it
Whoa.
because of the nature of just needed some money at the time kind of thing. But who knows? It's probably a good thing I didn't buy it. But
In a
originally, I
similar
wasn't going to sell
tone,
my Zone Mortalis board. You see, I was going to be, I can just buy it. I'll be able to make the money back. It's fine.
in a similar vein to that, at the event, someone who was one of the organising team was playing in because of a team had dropped out and they had to step in, and he was playing with the Metallica Titanicus force, and he got on with it so poorly that by the end of it, he was like, "I'm jacking this in. I'm selling them." Like, oh really? And I was like, oh no, this is not. I can't afford this right now. I can't do it. But this is an opportunity. He's a painter I follow on Instagram. He's a painter I've admired considerably, and you're like, and there's an opportunity here to own a ready-made force here. Ooh, took his number. We exchanged this. We said, yeah, we'll chat about it. It's all good. Fortunately, leave it a couple of days, and I wondered if this might happen. And he's like, I've had a change of heart. So thank God for that.
Yeah,
because that's taken the pressure off me.
So Emma said she wants a Smaug at some point, and or no, when we were up, she was like, "Yeah, I'd have that." She loves Lord of the Rings. I was like, "Yeah, we could get one." And she's like, "But it has to be painted like the box art." And I'm like, "Well, we're never not going to have one." So for a well painted Smaug, am I ever going to find one for that price again? Probably not. Might not ever have a Smaug now. Yeah, it is what it is, but it's disappointing. It's disappointing.
It's not.
But yeah.
It can't be. Well, it can't be that rare because that's the second time my friend Stu bought one, for example.
Oh, did he?
He did.
Well, how well painted?
Pretty well, reasonable.
Okay, maybe. I mean, maybe it's just
So they do come up. Is my point.
Maybe it reaches that size where you can't go too far with it, I suppose, on price wise. So you never know. Maybe I will buy one day. Blimey, there's a brand new one here for 489.50. Whereas you can go to Games Workshop and get one for 418. People are crazy. Yeah, who knows? Whatever. Anyway, yeah. So I think with Heresy, I've got to just start plugging away. I want to see progress. And the problem is, as you say, I've got so many projects, and unfortunately, because Heresy takes longer to do something, I could paint up a kill team, and it might take me a few weeks because I'm slow. but that's only a fraction of a heresy army that I would have painted in that time. So you're like, well, at least I can achieve something with the kill. So I've got to get that balance right, because they are taking the mick out of me.
Packing up to move
Yeah.
out of our in-laws' house, and I was packing up some of the projects I'd been doing during the run up to, and indeed the early days of the little man being with us. I was looking at how many is it, 25 or 30 phalanx warders that I did, and they to the point where all the yellow's done, the helmets are done, they were all modelled up. That took ages just to model the things up and get them all exactly the poses I wanted, etc. Get all the weapons set up how I wanted, do all the yellow, nail the yellow recipe, get all that done. The same as I got a few characters done, everything. The idea of painting the black trim on that lot is filling me with a genuine sense of dread. You think, well, when am I going to do this? But I need to do that to just then finish them off.
Yeah.
Because I got something like 20, was it 20? It was more than that. Maybe it was 30 Mark III Marines done up, and they're finished. I went through the slog of that and do it and really enjoyed it, actually, and they look really cool now. If I can get the rest of that lot done up to that level, I've got a stone gauntlet then. You're like, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, but some
But
jobs
it's the committing to it, isn't it? Well, this is the problem.
So, do we, as two guys on this podcast, do we start setting ourselves goals to achieve, to report back on?
I think it's not a bad idea.
I'm not saying we do it right now. We've got a short
Trust me,
turnaround before
I
next
won't.
episode.
I won't be committing it. Yeah, I won't be committing to that. But it's quite an interesting idea.
I'm quite busy for the next 2 months, but
Well, yeah, but these
potentially
could be slightly longer. Could be longer term goals rather than what did you do this week? It's not a tale of four gamers. That's been
No,
done.
but we've got
We
a
can
month.
project it over a longer period of time.
We've got a month turnaround ish for shows, so we can. Maybe it's something we can start doing. Maybe you, good listener, have an idea of what we can kind of do. You know, obviously
There's some
we set
challenges.
we're not as prolific as as other people can be.
Yeah.
Painting wise and modelling wise or what have you. But I think there's something there that maybe we can help push each other. And
that could also include. That doesn't have to include purely painting and modelling projects. That could include gaming projects.
Oh yeah, whatever. Like again, like this is a proper ramble chat about us looking forwards at our hobby in the grandest, widest sense of the word, and what we want to get out of it at the end of the day. How do we want to have more fun doing what we're doing? Essentially, like none of this needs to be a negative, and if it ever becomes a pressure that's a negative, then we need to review that as well and be honest and open with that.
And say, how do you overcome that? I think that's a really valid point. Really strong one, actually.
Because at the end of the day, why are we doing this? Because we want some of that, that pile of models we've got. We want that to be more useful, or gone, and we want to be able to have more fun in our gaming time. And we want to, we don't want to have wasted time maybe on projects that we don't want, need, use. So you've got to be, if you set that out as a broad aim, then anything that's not working towards one of those, like there's nothing wrong with starting a project and going, you know what, this is not actually what I want to do. Got it wrong. Right, put it aside, put it away. Like, I'm not saying that will happen, but
no, but it's an interesting. It's something that's interesting reflecting on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great question.
Okay, well, let's leave that there. Let's come back. Maybe have a little think about it. Maybe for next episode. Maybe for the episode afterwards. I will be putting a call out soon for questions because there is. Well, actually, no, we might do that. There's some weird timings. Basically, end of March, I'm at Adepticon. I come back. I'm in the country for 5 days before I fly out to Sydney. So and I'm out there for a couple of weeks. So like
international jet setter, great.
Idiot. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to be broken. So.
And then not long after that is Fest.
And not long after that is Fest. No, I'm not doing Salute.
I am.
I go there and choose not to buy anything. I only go there to hang out with people, so it's fine. I'm doing plenty of that at Fest. although the biggest, my biggest kind of talking about plans and what we're doing and stuff, my favourite thing to do at Salute is to walk up and see a load of models that I want to buy and realise they're all in metal and walk away from that whole store, which is becoming harder and harder to do because they don't do them in metal as much anymore.
Yeah.
But it'll soon be all 3D printers there anyway.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, no, Fest will be. Oh, that's over that. That crosses over a month, so that episode will have to record after Fest. Yeah, there's plenty to talk about coming up. We've got Adepticon,
Certainly is. Yeah.
Fest, other stuff. So yeah. Anyway, if you've got any questions, feel free to send them in anyway. That's what I say.
Always keen on questions.
Indeed, keep us on our toes. Okay. Yeah, we've had to make this episode a little bit shorter, but hopefully we will be back in your ears not too long. So, cheers, Howard.
Cheers, Greg. We'll speak to you soon.
Awesome. Yes, let's do that. And thank you for listening to another episode of The Imperial Truth. All the usual stuff here. Please, if you want to give us feedback, tell us what you're planning for 2023. Tell us how you think we can implement that kind of ramble chat we had there. Send in your questions, please, as well. At some point, there will be a Q&A show. Just fitting it in when it's best kind of thing. But if you've got any questions, please feel free to send them in, whether it's for us, whether it's about rules in the game, whether it's about background, any kind of stuff like that. Please, as I say, feel free to send it in, Greg, at theimperialtruth.com. You can also get us on Facebook. Just search for Imperial Truth. These are all in the show notes as well, and various other places, indeed. At Charterfang on Twitter, as well as at Imperial_Truth as well. And yeah, we look forward to reading your feedback and your questions and your suggestions. That will be amazing. If you want to support the show, Element Games for all your toys, wonderful, wonderful hosts, supporters of the show, and it doesn't cost you any extra to do that, which is good, because we're all about that. If you do want to tip us for the show as a thank you, you can go to Patreon and search for the Imperial Truth there. Or again, it's in the show links in the show notes if you want to do that. If you want to say this show's worth $1 a month, cool, amazing, thank you very much. $3, $5. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You could always just listen for free. That's absolutely fine as well. We, of course, coming up. I said I'm going to be at Adepticon, which is a month, blimey, a month away. I've got some stuff to organise, and then we will both be at Warhammer Fest. Don't know how busy. I shouldn't be too busy at either of them, to be fair. Maybe we'll try and make sure we're wearing t-shirts or something like that. But if you bump into me at either of those, feel free to come say hi and what have you. And Howard and myself will both be at Fest, which looks like it could be quite good fun. So we're looking forward to that coming up. But we'll muck around. I know the schedule's been out of whack for a little while now. We're desperately trying to get sorted on that. But hey, it is what it is. It's the only way the show's going to get made at the moment. It's just the nature of the beast, shall we say. But it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. So I think that will do us on that one. If you're going to get the end of the end and the death, or whatever it's called, part 1, just remember not everyone reads at the same pace, so be careful on those spoilers. But I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point soon as well, because that looks like that could be good fun. And we've got some down the line. We'll have some reviews, like detailed reviews of that one as well. I think we'll dive into that as we have done with other books and are planning to do to catch up. Plenty more to get done on that front. Anyway, lots of waffle from me as normal, lots of rambling. We'll just leave it there. So until next time, You have been listening to The Imperial Truth.